Welcome to season 2 of Producer Points. My name is Justin Gamella, and I'll be your host. I'm a producer and songwriter who's had the honor of working with some of the best in the industry. This season, we're diving even deeper into one-on-one conversations with producers, mixers, songwriters, and artists, exploring their unique journeys, creative process, and insights that shape great music. Join me for real talks, straight from the studio, where music and life intersect. This is Producer Points. Today on Producer Points, we're diving into the world of a producer and songwriter who, in my opinion, is the next one to watch. His productions have been ahead of the curve for years, consistently trend-leading, genre-pushing, and full of taste. From his early days fronting a gritty alternative project to now shaping some of the freshest sounds in alt-pop and indie, his evolution has been both inspiring and undeniable. He's collaborated with a wave of incredible artists, including Devon Again, UPSAHL, Teddy Gold, King Mala, Emei, Noah Rinker, Emei, and Emei, bringing his signature edge and sharp creative instincts to every record. Whether he's building bold, left-of-center productions or subtly elevating an artist's vision, his fingerprint is instantly recognizable. Join me in welcoming Jon Buscema. Dude, thank you for being here.
Jeez, thanks, man. What an intro. Do you want to write my bio?
Sure. You can. I'll
That's
send you that.
amazing.
You can just use. I've been saying it for a while, man. I'm truly you're such a sweet guy, and I'm lucky to call you a friend. But your productions are always just I meant every word I said. I'm truly all everything you do. I'm just fuck. Maybe I should quit because you're
Thank
really truly
Jeez.
doing incredible stuff. I think the stuff, and we're going to talk about that later. But I think specifically the stuff you're doing with Devon Again is just incredible. I think it's a matter of time before she becomes a huge star, and then she's just gonna bring you along right with her. So I'm excited. I'm excited for both you guys. But dude, how have you been? What have you been up to lately?
I've been good, man. Just working away, mostly working on the Devon project and with Noah Rinker, who's just signed to Warner and is having a nice moment. I think also is probably gonna do the thing.
Yeah, I had an
It's
opportunity
kind
to work with him last a year and a half ago or something, before he was signed and stuff. And we got an okay song, but he's a talent. He's really, really, really good.
Yeah, the thing that's freaky about him is just how quickly he kind of learns. He's kind of has savantish focus. I really envy it. It's the thing that I feel I've never really had, which is he just decides, I'm gonna play the guitar, and then he comes and plays the guitar, and you're like, Jesus Christ, how
Yep.
did you figure that out so quick?
Don't you hate
know?
those people? They're the worst.
Yeah, and yeah, he's definitely coming into his own, and I think just it's only a matter of time before he really kind of cracks the code and it's off to the races.
Yeah, no, he was, like I said, I worked with him a little bit earlier on, and it was you could tell it's oh man, you're on to something here. You're and I could tell when I worked with him, it was he was still figuring himself out and his songwriting out. And the one, I forget what it's called, the one that, did you do the one that just came out with him?
Is it Wherever I Go?
I think so. I'm so bad with song names. I remember whatever most recent one came out, I was oh, okay, now he's he's figuring himself out.
Yeah, I think it was Wherever I Go.
Yeah.
Let me see.
We have the whole interwebs to find that out. But anyway, enough about Noah. We're here to talk about you, and it was Wherever I Go.
Nice.
I know a little bit about your story, but our listeners don't. So why don't you tell us how you got your start in music and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, so I grew up in New Jersey in the early 2000s playing in bands, and that's kind of it. I started playing drums I was probably in 5th grade, and I started because my next door neighbor was this guy named Frankie Muniz, who was a huge child star, but this is before he was Frankie Muniz.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and he played drums and had a drum set, and I went over to his house and he played for me, and I was like, that's cool. I want to do that. And he gave me his old drum set, and then I started playing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I mean, before that, I had always been kind of interested in music. My parents played a lot of music, and they're music fans. So I think it was always something that I just really responded to. And then yeah, I had like a little stupid keyboard when I was in like second or third grade and had like one of those little, boom boxes and like would record dumb stuff. And then, yeah, when I got drums, it was kind of like, oh, this is maybe like my instrument. And yeah, I started playing in bands in eighth grade maybe, and then through high school. And then somewhere along the line, I don't really know where I like decided that's what I wanted to do with my life. So I went to jazz school for drum set, which was kind of silly, but also pretty informative.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought I was gonna like be a drummer until I like saw how good people are at drums. And then I decided to not be a drummer. but but the truth is like the real reason I think got out of that is I just always had an interest in everything. Like I always wanted to play like all of the instruments and like write songs and I think I like wanted to be John Mayer or something like that.
I feel like that's how it is for so many like songwriters and producers where it's like I was so focused on guitar and I was learning Metallica and then I like started like playing in bands with other people who were so much better than I was at guitar and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm pretty good at writing stuff. I guess I'll do that." Like just
Yeah. And I think too, like for me, the place where I always found myself to like be the most kind of like lost in it, like that, like just be in the like, you kind of start working and you just like lose track of time. It was always
yeah,
when I was like making something like recording wise. Like
yeah,
all of my bands that I was in, I'd always be the guy who like recorded the band. And then like when I wasn't recording bands, I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna write a song so I can like record the whole thing. And I had no idea that like that's what a music producer was. Like I just
right.
didn't know.
Mm,
I was like practicing for my college audition when I was maybe a junior, senior in high school, and I like recorded this song by myself. And it was maybe like one of the first things I ever recorded on my own. And I like played it for my drum teacher, and he's like, "What are you doing? You should be like studying for your freaking audition." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you're right." And even like through college, I was like recording my own music and I played for my teachers, and a lot of them would just be like, "Why are you doing this? Like you should be like practicing." And yeah, I had like two teachers though in college who were just like, "This is sick. You should do this." And they were guys who like had actually been in bands that were like signed to a label and
yeah,
like they kind of like saw the writing on the wall and didn't like explicitly say like, this is a job. You can like if this is what you love doing, you should just go do this.
right.
But I kind of like got that sense from them. And then yeah, when I got out of school, I like started a band in my hometown and started recording that band and then started recording other bands and then slowly kind of just found my way into like this job.
And now you're here doing the thing. When did you come out to LA?
I came out to LA 2018,
Okay.
right before the world shut down.
Yeah, but you still had 2 years at least to like get your get your bearings in.
Yeah, yeah. I got
Yeah.
2 good years in, and then
Yeah.
everything kind of changed. Honestly, for the
Yeah.
better, but I feel like LA is like a totally different place post-pandemic. At least for
Oh,
me, it is.
no, I think it is. I think like things change and like people, I don't know. I think the industry changed honestly for the
Yeah,
better.
agreed.
Like I think people were because you were forced to with the pandemic be like, all right, I'm not going to work with like a huge swath of people. I'm kind of going to like focus in. That I know
Yeah,
that's what I did. Like when I was doing it, I really I only had the patience to work with so many people on Zoom. And then like, when people were like, well, I have my pod of people that like I see, it was like that. And so and then I was like, oh shit, I kind of like this a lot better
yeah,
than just like
same.
I listen, I still love working with new people because like, that's how you find new talent, that's how you find, new artists, new songwriters, but like I don't do it nearly as much as I used to.
Nah, me neither. I'm pretty like picky and insular at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, Zoom was really revealing for me, just in the sense that like I think when you're kind of like in the session grind world, it like feels really good, and you're like kind of meeting all these new people, and like if the vibes are good, the vibes are good, and you're like
Yeah.
eating lunch, and you're talking, and you're laughing, and you're like, oh, this is so much fun. And and then you kind of go back and listen to a lot of the music, and you're like, this music's bad. Why did I do
Yeah.
this? And on Zoom, I feel like all you're left with is like you and the person, and there's nothing to kind of like gloss over, like whether or not you vibe.
Yeah.
And it just showed me that like so much of like making good music, at least the kind of music that I want to make, is reliant on like me and the person I'm making it with having like some sort of special like
Mhm.
connection. And so like now whenever I take new sessions, I'm really just trying to see like, do we have like the thing? Like
Yeah.
could it be there? Do I like you? Do I want to hang out with you? Like is it like, you know,
I think it's so important, like, I think there's a difference between, you don't really do as like like pitch writing so much, right? Like you're mostly doing like artists and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think like I still, I mean, listen, I'm a sucker for a good pitch song, but I think when I'm working with artists, the first thing I always tell them, and I think like I worked with one last week, and they thanked me for telling them that, because the first thing I always say is like, listen, like I don't care if we get a song today. Today is just about like hanging out and like vibing with each other, and like if we get a song, great. If we get a chorus, great. If we get a verse, great. Like I don't care. I just want to like get to know you, figure out who you are, and like this is hopefully the first day of like a longer term thing. And the artist
Mm,
was just like, "Thank you so much for saying that," because I've had so many sessions lately where it's like every producer is just trying to get like trying to write my single.
yeah.
And it's like, yeah, and I was like, yeah, no, that's not me. And I think it's because maybe you felt like this too, but like I was an artist. And like when I was in my band, we were a duo. And like we came out to LA and we started working with other people doing that whole, fucking thing. And like we picked up on that so often. Whereas
Mm,
like producers, like they were just trying to write like a single and not trying to get to know us and not like figure out what our sound was, but they were like trying to force their sound on us and make it a hit. And it just put such a horrible taste in my mouth. And I was just like, I never want to do that to an
yeah.
artist.
Yeah, I feel that. I like, yeah, I think for me a lot of it is kind of the same thing. And like I never got the experience with my like bands growing up to go and like work with anyone legit. My bands
Mhm.
were, I mean, I don't want to say that we were bad, but like, we were good for our
Dude,
town. But like in the
your King
scheme,
David
like
the
we
King
never
David
like,
project was great. What are you talking about?
sorry, say that again.
Your King David project was great.
No, King David was like the first thing
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did that actually like kind of worked or
Yeah.
like got some sort of attention. But I mean like before that,
No,
like,
yeah, I mean,
and
I'm the
that
same way, yeah.
yeah, and that band, I was already kind of in the music industry. Like I had already kind of decided that this was my job. And King David was like me and my friend Tyler, who I went to
Mhm.
college with, kind of both being like, it started with me developing him as an artist. And then it kind of turned into this like, oh, we're a band. And it was at the time of like, New York City, like dark pop duos. So it's
Yeah.
like, let's be a duo.
No,
Um,
that project was great, man. That's how I found out about you, because I worked with Tyler years ago.
oh yeah,
And
yeah, that's
yeah, and
right.
like I didn't meet you until later because our mutual buddy David Arkwright like introduced us eventually. But that's how I heard about you and like heard your productions and stuff. Super super small world. But no, I kind of want to talk a little bit about, you really have the kind of career that like my deepest darkest secret is what I want, like only working with artists, diving in. I love the projects you do. Uh, how did you kind of choose or just like fall into doing that kind of production?
A good question. It really kind of started over pandemic. I think like when the world shut down, I started to do some Zooms and then I kind of realized like how miserable I was working with different people every day. I also like had this funny experience where I like went home and played a bunch of music I had made for one of my like friends and she was just like, nah. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like this is all really bad. I agree. Like I don't even like this music.
Right.
And, yeah, so, like, I that happened, then pandemic happened, and I don't know, I was just, like, really unhappy and kind of, like, burnt out and jaded, and I just kind of thought of, like, all of the, like, music I'd ever made that I was really energized by and, like, like, how just, like, when I really love something that I'm working on, how much better it is and how much better it, like, does in the world, and I was kinda just like, "Screw it, I'm just gonna go and work with, like, my friends who have been, like, asking me to, like, work on their projects," and I've kinda been like, "Nah, I wanna go, like, chase, industry,
Hmm.
fame or whatever." And it was, like, Teddy, Gold, and, like, Golda, and Tyler of King David, like, they were kinda like, "Do you wanna just, like, do my project?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And, like, Teddy had a bunch of these demos that were, like, really good, and they kinda just needed someone to come in and, like, help, like, arrange the vision, and that was kinda, like, the first thing, and then same with, like, Golda, she had, like, a bunch of demos and, like, songs and stuff, and, like, I kinda just got involved with her, and I had been involved with her, but I got, like, more involved in it, um, and yeah, from there, I just, like, slowly got more and more kind of like, "No, this is how I need to work, and I'm just gonna
Right.
say no to everything that, like, isn't this thing," and that doesn't give me this feeling that, like, I'm, like, doing the thing that I want to be doing.
Dude, I love that. Yeah, that's something where it's like when artists that I decide to go super deep on, it's the same thing. It's like, all right, I gotta like really make sure that like I want to feel this from like that. It's such an indescribable feeling. It really
Yeah.
is. You're just like, I don't know, it just feels good, and I just want to like keep doing that. And I mean, it's easier for me to like do things that I don't want to say don't care as much about, but I don't have to be as invested as when I'm like acting only as a top liner in a room.
Hmm.
Stuff for like K-pop and stuff. Because like again, like it's also something I love. I love writing a dumb, stupid pop song.
Yeah.
It's something I love doing, and I don't have to like think too much about it. So when you're working with these artists, and you said like a lot of them were already your friends and stuff, so you already had that kind of connection. But even when you're working with like a newer artist, how do you feel like you create that trust and freedom in your sessions to kind of make the incredible art that you're making with them?
I don't know. I mean, Devon's kind of an interesting one because I met her like long before and same with Noah. Like we met long before we really started to work together. Like I probably worked with Noah around the same time you did, and I was like, this kid's good. I don't know what this is yet, but I like him, and like we have fun together, and that's cool. And I would do more. But it feels early. And Devon, like I think our first like 5 sessions, we didn't get anything. Like we didn't even get a song. We got
Mm.
like maybe a track and like a little idea. Um, but like I don't know, I think we just kind of saw in each other like some mutual kind of love of the same thing. And I think really I'm just looking for like it's like we either have that thing where like we kind of love the same things about music and we want our music to have those things, or we like don't. And if we don't, there's nothing I can do to like make them open up or any
Right.
of that. It just feels like I'm looking for natural connections. And like Noah is the same as Devin. And I think the types of artists that I tend to really gravitate towards and what I'm like learning about myself is like if you like love like the music of it all, like and that whole thing, like we're gonna love working together. If you're
Yeah.
like I love sparkly pop songs, we're probably not gonna love working together. I love sparkly pop songs. I just don't make them. Like I don't know
Right. Right.
how to do it.
Yeah. No, that's fine. It's like it's funny. I worked with Devin maybe around the same time you were meeting her. She signed to Pulse however many years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago
Yeah,
at this
yeah.
point. And we did we do 2 or 3 sessions? Same kind of vibes. Like didn't, like we got ideas down, nothing that was whatever, but I got the sense from her that uh and it's not a criticism. I think it's actually like really good that like it takes her a second to open up and to like be who she really is and like whatever. And when I worked with her, I told my team because we had the same publisher. I was like, she's fucking incredible. I was like, I don't know if I'm the right producer for her,
Mm,
but like she's so good. And she just needed. I think she just needed to find like you essentially to like kind of
yeah.
like have the patience to be like cool. Like we can have days and upon days to like build our trust and build how we want to like work together. Um, you know, one of the things that little quip from a mutual friend, David Arkwright, that's about this. I think it's really smart. When you're like putting a session together and you're in a room with someone, like for our listeners, what a Venn diagram is, the two circles and they kind of whatever crosses over. And if you're working with someone, you don't want to have your two circles be not connected. And you also kind of don't want your two circles to be perfectly aligned either. I
Mm,
think where the magic happens is it's like that perfect Venn diagram where it's like you have so much in your taste that you can agree on and you love, and then you each have your own things that you kind of like bring on. I think that's where the magic happens
mm.
in songwriting.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a great point.
yeah, yeah. I can't take credit for it. It was David who came up with that, but I use it all the time. But now it's recorded that I gave him credit. So he can't,
Yeah, smart cookie that David Arkwright.
he really is. He really is. Um, what do you how did you feel like you eventually learned to trust your taste to you take a lot of creative risks that I think are fucking amazing, but how did you feel like you built up that courage to start doing that?
Um, I think I always had it when I was younger. I think like it was always kind of there. I'm like a snob, so I'm kind of just like, I love music that is like really risky, and I think everything else is bad. So, I
It's
think like
great.
I grew up listening to like a lot of the Beatles and Radiohead, and I'm just like, this is it. Like this is music, and this is what I want to make, and I want it to be like kind of like just edgy and like different and like surprising and all of those things. And I think I like lost it for a while when I first moved here, and then somewhere in the pandemic, I kind of like I don't know. I just heard a few people do a few things where I was like, damn, that's really cool. And like I would have done that if I let myself, but I wasn't like letting myself. Um, but honestly, like I think a big part of it was actually like working with Devon and just watching how she responded to like things I would kind of do in passing that I wouldn't have maybe thought were like things people would like. And
Right.
she'd just be like, "That's fucking cool," and I'm like, "Ooh, really? Awesome!" Because I love that. I'm so down, and it really inspired me to kind of like go and like change my workflow to where like, instead of like doing everything in the computer, it's like, well, I love like guitars and I love pedals and I love like synths and like real instruments and all of that. And like this girl loves this shit too. And like whenever I do this, like she writes better songs. So like maybe this is what I should do, is kind of like just really be myself. And then the more I just kind of started doing that, the more my life just got like better. And then all of the people that didn't align with me kind of like got out of my life creatively, and all the people that did align with me started to kind of like gravitate towards me and find me, and I started gravitating towards it. And it's like you kind of like carve this like thing for yourself where it's like, this is what I do. Do you like it? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Come work with me. It'll be a great time. Do you not like it? No, that's okay. Fine. I don't care. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyway.
No, I love that. Like, that the last thing you said there is like, you don't like it. That's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I try and tell people so often, like producers and songwriters and artists who are just starting out. It's like, if you have a session with someone and it didn't work out, like, that's fine. It's okay. It doesn't mean any of you suck. It doesn't mean anyone is any less talented. It just means that, like, yeah, you guys just like have different tastes, and like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And like, fun fact, you can still be friends with those people, which is like,
Totally.
yeah,
Totally. And I think all of my like best friends in music we don't make the same kind of
yeah,
music. We wouldn't
yeah,
even work together. And I think that's
right.
great. Like, cause everyone I think should be as specialized as they can be. I think like generality is kind of like the death of like anything cool.
Yeah.
And I think our jobs as producers is so much about like finding the specificity in an artist or in like anything. It's just like how do I make this like the most itself that it can possibly be? Because that's where I think, that's where like the world looks at something and goes, "Oh, I like that. That has something that
Yep.
I want." The biggest thing I think for me also in kind of like finding like the like getting back to like my core of like who I am creatively and like what I want to make is like the rejection of everything that I shouldn't be making. Like I think there's this inclination, especially when you're starting to produce, to go and listen to like Run Away With Me by Carly Rae Jepsen and just be like,
Yeah.
this track is amazing. I want to make this. And like for a long time, it was like, I want to do that. I want to make these big pop records. But then I'd make them and I'd be like, this isn't good. Like I don't really do this. And I think kind of like knowing now, like what I do well, what really gives me like energy, where I feel like I have something to contribute to the medium and something to say, and something where it's like I just admire it from afar. It's like I can go to the museum and I can like look at a painting and be like, that's a beautiful painting. I appreciate this art, and not be like, I should be a painter,
Yeah.
you know?
I think that's so accurate. I think, for our listeners, when you start to produce full time, and especially when you come out to LA, I think we all go through that same kind of inertia of you come here and you want to kind of prove yourself, and you start doing things that you think people like,
Hmm.
and you don't do exactly what you're saying. Like, you don't do what you like. And what probably got you out to LA, and this is speaking for myself too, is I was making music I liked.
Hmm.
And my personal journey is like, I stopped doing that for like 2, 3, 4 years. And it took me a minute to like get back into realizing all this music I made sucked. Some of the songs I wrote, just top line wise, like that was always, personally, I was like, those were always fine. But my productions, I was like just doing things that I had no business doing, that like again, same like you, like I admired making it, but I shouldn't have been making. And then the productions that I started doing well, I tend to thrive in making productions that are like singer-songwriter focused, real instruments kind of things. Like that's like the thing that gets me going. I'm a band guy like you. It's like I like real instruments. I like my guitar pedals. I like my synths. I like my real piano. I love recording real drums. That's where I feel like I shine best. And now, uh, I've gotten not rid of my ego, but like it's mostly gone. And when I'm doing like pop stuff, I like don't produce it out that much. You
Hmm.
know, like for our listeners, like my biggest song, "Build a Bitch," is like a really good example where my first production with that was just the vocal and like 3 or 4 sounds,
Hmm.
and I kind of knew I was like, I'm not the guy to finish this, and I'm so glad we gave it to Ely, Rizik, and Suburban to like finish up, and like I learned from that where I was like, oh, okay, Like maybe in the pop world, I'm a starter guy. I can get like
Yeah.
my sounds and I can shape like the songwriting. And like now I'm always like sending my songs out to like other producers, be like, hey, you want to finish this? Like,
Yeah.
I think you'd kill it. And the point of me saying all this is like figuring out what you do as a producer takes a while. But once you figure that out, like don't be afraid to be like, okay, no, I do this really well, or like I like making music like this. And then also like not being afraid to like send things to other people and collaborate in that way, if it's like not something you can do well.
Yeah, I think so. And that demo of Build a Bitch I have heard, and it's a great demo. Like, and I
Thank you.
think there is like a real art to making like a minimal demo that gets people really excited and shows them like what this could be and tells them like because you're really like in creating a demo like that,
Right.
you're telling people like where this should go, who
Right.
should finish it, like whether you're thinking about it or not, it's kind of like implicit in like the choices. And I can hear when I listened to that demo, I was like, this could be really cool.
Right. Yeah. It's like I try and make a demo where, like, especially in like the pop world, where like I'm informing the listener what it could and should be.
Yeah.
And it's like, like when you hear that demo, like when everyone else, you're like, oh, okay, this is what it probably will be. And it just has to be done up better. Speaking of demos, I really wanted to ask you this because I know working with artists that you tend to work with a lot, uh, it's different than, pop sessions where it's like, oh, I got to get this bounce out really quickly. When you're working with your artists, like what's your demoing process like? How quickly do you like to get them something? What do you like to do in those
Mm,
cases?
I've gotten very lazy. Yeah, I used to try like when I was doing more sessions, I would try and like bang out a full demo every day. And then I started to realize how much I was like tying my own hands in doing that and tying the hands of the artists in doing that. Cause it's like, once you start kind of like making like decisions, it's really hard to, at least for me, it's really hard to undo them. Like I
Right.
really want to make decisions with perspective. And so now I kind of just try, it's different. Like Devon and Noah are really different because Noah like mostly writes by himself. He's got always like a sick guitar riff or a sick piano riff, and it really is more just about like here's the song, how do we record it the best way possible. Um Devon is different cuz with her it's like we're doing everything from scratch. She doesn't, I mean she does write on her own, but for the most part we're kind of like doing everything together, and she's like really inspired by like sounds and like worlds. So I'm always just like, okay, cool. Let me loop record. I'll like put a bunch of stuff down. I'll make a bunch of weird noises. Maybe we find something that gets a response in her emotionally. And then it's like write the song, record a vocal, and then I'll just print whatever we have. And
Yeah.
it's normally really messy. And the beauty of working with her, she knows like we've worked for so long, she knows what's going to happen. So I don't have
Right.
to be like, well, it's not done and we're going to do all this stuff and I'll
Yeah.
re-record the drums. And like, it's just like, here it is. It's a sloppy mess. And then if she comes back and she's like, I love this, I want to finish it, then we just finish it. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how it goes.
That's the beauty of working with an artist like that so often. Like for me, it's with working with Rosie Darling, and like we've been doing it now for like 2-3 years working together. And it's like I know I can just be like I can make the crappiest of crappy demos, but it's like we both know it's like okay, we know what I can do and know what it could be. And I kind of like too, personally. It's like if I could work like that with everyone, just like making it such a simple demo and just like really just focusing on the song or like the couple core elements. Because then you don't get demoitis from like a song that you produced out where it's like you're stuck in the BPM or you're stuck in, the key or whatever. I like when it's like a little bit, more open. And then when you work with an artist enough where you can like go back to a song you wrote a year ago and be like, oh shit, I haven't listened to this in months.
Yeah.
And this is way too slow.
Uh-huh.
And it's like for me, it's like an immediate thing when I hear something for the first time, when I haven't listened to it in months, where it's like I hear all the problems, or rather, I hear all the solutions. I think is the better way to look at it. And
Yeah.
you don't always get that in like pop sessions, where it's like you're making the decisions that day, and you just kind of like got to go with it and you know move on with it.
And I can hear it. Like I can hear in music that's released like how it was made. And I can hear how much time was spent on it and when the decisions were made for the most part.
Right.
And I think like it's really like a tragedy of like modern times that like we kind of have to turn these, if you're kind of in that world, you have to kind of turn these like demos into like almost finished products immediately
Right.
because like you just don't get the like space. And then what you end up doing is you end up fixing all of these problems with like tricks. It's like, oh well, this vocal's not really good. I'll just melodyne the shit out of it and I'll
Right.
like slam it with an 1176 and now it sounds exciting, but it's not really exciting. It just sounds exciting, which
Right.
is fine for like 2 listens. But then you go to listen 3 and you're like, there's nothing here. Like,
Yep.
and I don't want to hear the song again. And I think that happens like across the board. It's like, oh, it's, maybe you think it's too slow or you don't think it's too slow. So you just like hit the limiter harder and now it's like pumping more. So you like get the perception that it's more exciting than it is. So I love like leaving the warts because it really makes you have to kind of like address them, like you said. And
Yeah.
I think perspective in general is so important. And like, I think the biggest difference between my workflow now and when I was like younger, it's like when I was younger, I would just work for like 16 hours a day or whatever. Like every waking moment, I'd just be at my computer, like, like white knuckling, trying to get everything done. Now I'm just like, I'll comp this vocal like very loosely for like 20 minutes and then I'll go like make a coffee and then I'll come back and listen and be like, is this good? And it's like, nah. And it's like that kind of like giving yourself different versions of yourself to come back and
Hmm.
listen to the song really like helps move things along so much faster.
I agree. When I'm able to, I think my favorite piece of advice that I give to other producers is I try to comp the next day from
Yeah.
a vocal because you've just like, especially when you've written the song that day, where it's like
Hmm.
you've written the song and you're just like, you have no perspective and the singer just sang it however many times. It's like, I've done it where it's like, I'll do a day one comp just because like someone wants it. I so rarely do it though,
Yeah.
but it's like happened almost every time where it's like, if I make a day one comp and then I come the next day or the day after, and then I'm just like, "Well, I do not like this comp, and I make the comp the next day and it's always so much better. So I've just learned that like to give myself that day, it's like refresh my ears, get out of it for a second, and then it's like the same thing I was talking about earlier, where it's like I don't listen to a song for a couple months, and I come back. It's like I come in and I immediately hear
Hmm.
what we need to like kind of change and do, and it's like that I wouldn't hear if I was just working on it for like 12 hours straight. You
Yeah.
know,
And
and
I find like the closer I get to the thing, like the more time I spend with it and the more kind of like in the weeds of it I get, the longer time it takes to like get the perspective. Like I just listened to this demo I did that I knew I whiffed on. Like it was like it was like a song and someone asked me to produce it and I like did it and I was like this is bad, but I don't know, maybe it's fine. And I sent it and they're like, yeah, this is bad. I'm like, okay. And but like I was like I just don't get it. Like I don't get what I didn't like understand about this. But I had spent like 3 days in a row on it and I needed to turn it around quick and I got like really kind of too close. And it's like been 3 or 4 months and I just listened to it yesterday morning. I was like, "Oh, I see. Like I
yeah,
know what the problem is." But it took like 3 months
yeah,
to like find that perspective, you know?
yeah, yeah. It's just time away. I tend to, I changed up how I worked too over the pandemic just because I was like inside so much. And I think it's been good. Like kind of what you were saying, like yeah, I could be in the studio for 16 hours. Like I used to be the same way. I would just be like locked in, wouldn't eat lunch, wouldn't, like would just be miserable. And now what I've learned too is that I tend to work in like hour or two chunks.
Yeah.
It's like I'll work for an hour or two and then I'll go outside, maybe make a coffee, maybe tend to the garden that I don't know if you can hear it, but I have the gardener in the back chopping stuff, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
It's fine. This mic shouldn't pick it up. But yeah, it's just like, and then it's just like, again, I come back and it's like, I immediately hear the problems. It's like those little, and yeah, even taking a walk for 20 minutes, it's the
Yeah.
best. Just get out of your own way.
And I think that like you can extrapolate that kind of like just philosophy across so many things in skill building in general. Like this really changed for me when I listened to like I don't know some podcast of like some like wrestling coach. I don't know why I was listening to this, but it was some wrestling coach and he was talking about like Russian wrestlers versus American wrestlers and how like the Russians are just dominant in wrestling like all the time. And they train so differently than the Americans. Like the Americans train like really intensely a few days a week and just kill themselves. And the Russians just literally go to the gym and they just like play all day. They just
Yep.
wrestle. It's like really low, medium intensity. And then like when it comes time for competition, they'll like ramp it up. And like they just get so many more reps in. So they get so much better. And it made me realize how much I was just like in every musical pursuit since I decided that I wanted to like be good at this thing, I just like went too hard. And now I'm way more like, oh, if I'm gonna practice something on guitar, I don't need to sit down for 4 hours and practice guitar. I just need to like practice for like 5 minutes a few times a day. And it's like so much more effective. And that across my entire life has made everything just so much better. I'm so much happier. And I've
Yeah.
gotten so much better as a result because I'm not like miserable, like you said, like coming to my desk, like, oh, I gotta figure this song out. I'm always just
Yeah.
like, yeah, let's see if it's good today. Oh, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Maybe I'll work on it tomorrow.
Dude, that's the thing. It's like that exactly what you're saying. Like the best thing for my career is when I allowed myself to like sit down and like if I wasn't feeling that day, like I allowed myself to walk away from it. I used to not
Yeah,
do that. I used to not allow myself to do that. I used to be like, no, you got to power through. And now I'm like, if I'm not feeling it today, I'm not feeling it. And like
yeah,
I'd rather just like go play with my dog or play a video game for a little bit and like try again the next day because it's it's like a weird job and I don't think you can. I think there are occasions where you can force something and it comes out great, but I think it's like long term that's like not good for your mental health, and I don't think it's good for your art most of the
I
time.
I agree.
You know. Hey gang, I just wanted to pop in here to let you know that the best way you can help this podcast grow is to rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. It tells the algorithm to push our show to other listeners so we can grow, and it's one of, if not the best way to help support this podcast. So if you wouldn't mind, take a second to rate this podcast. Sharing it with your friends would be amazing too. All right, back to the pod. I want to move on to our song deep dives.
Cool.
The first song we're going to talk about is Devon Again's Deep. I love this record so much. We were talking about it the other day when we were trying to figure out what songs we wanted to do deep dives on. But I mean, and the other one, Cherry Cola too, that we're going to talk about after. Both of these records are just so special. But before I start asking my questions, I wanted to talk about how did the record come about? What was the writing process like?
Oh man, Deep was cool. So the writing with Devin in general is like kind of crazy because we like will do so many sessions and like get nothing. And then like once in a while something just crazy will happen. And I think we had kind of been on a run of like making stuff when that song happened. Like we were kind of getting places. None of it felt like super special, but that song started. I had this like baby Martin that I just like decided to put like like Nashville strings on. Um and I was just like picked it up and playing it and she was like, that's cool. And it was kind of like that first, the do 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 do.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. So I just kind of made that little like bed of guitars that's in the verse. And she just started singing that like Scarlet's in, and I was like, that's cool. Like, what is that? And it kind of just went from there. And then yeah, she sang, and then I don't really know what made me like go to the like other section. I think I just was like, oh, maybe a breakbeat would be cool. And I like put it down. And then she started singing the like, it's not that deep.
Yeah.
And she was like, is that stupid? And I'm like, no, that's literally the coolest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I think it took like two convincings of her to be like, that's not stupid. It's actually really good. Before she was like, okay, cool.
Isn't that the most infuriating thing where like an artist comes up with something fucking amazing and they're like, is this too simple?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's fucking great. Like,
no.
say it over and over again. Who cares,
Yeah. I heard there was like a Stargate was on like one of their like videos for like the LAMP program. And they're like, if you find like a hooky thing, like repeat it until you're embarrassed and then repeat it some more.
Yeah, but it's true.
It's
true. I mean, like even like you said, like one of your favorite artists, the Beatles, like they would do shit like that all the time.
All the time. Or I think of like the Police do it really well. Like in So Lonely, like he says So Lonely like 600 times in a row. And same with Roxanne. You almost get to the point where you're like, it happens so much, you almost get in a trance. It's so cool. But anyway, so that song, and I don't know. And then from there, it just kind of like took on a life of its own. And that song was really special for me and transformative for me because it felt like one of the first times I could really like open up musically and like do all these different things. And it kind of like came together in a way where I was like, oh, this feels really special. And when we finished that song, like when I had like a listenable version of it kind of front to back, I literally just like sat at my computer and listened to it over and over again. I couldn't even work on it because I just loved it so much.
I believe it. It sounds like, obviously it's like a lot of Devon, but it just sounds like you said, it sounds like this was you being like, this is, if I was going to produce a record and like this, like put my all into it and like have it really like feel like I made it, like that's what that record would be.
Yeah. And I think like it is so much of it is her. Like she
Oh
is
no, oh yeah.
just so good and like so special. And I mean, there's, it's so rare to find someone like that where like your two things go together so
Hmm.
well. And I think what I've really learned from her as an artist is that like for a producer like me, getting an artist like her is so key to me being able to make the kind of music that I want to make. And it also makes me realize how like kind of secondary I am to the process. And I think like when you're an artist yourself, which I like consider myself, though like I don't like make artist music, but I think like at my heart I'm an artist, like
Right.
I just don't want to do the whole thing. And I'm too old and all of that. But like, you know, uh it's just like with that song especially, I'm like, she's just so good. Like it's just like I'm really there to support her, and I'm so lucky that like the thing that supports her is also the thing that I really want to make.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like you picked your moments so well in that production to like kind of have the production like be the star for like a second, but then it's like so much of that song is her vocal
Yeah.
and how she like layers her vocal and it's the vocals so up front and like
Hmm.
that's the one thing. My first question is like the one thing I love about all your productions is like you and like me like I'm a pretty decent vocal producer, but I'm always so fucking jealous at how you get vocals so up front and like you're brave enough to do them so dry. What's kind of we can get a little bit more technical here if you feel up to it. Like what's kind of the vocal chain in and out of the box? Like what are you working with?
Yeah, I love getting nerdy. That vocal was recorded through. I have like an Upton 251, and I have a BAE 1073 and like a Tube Tech CL1B. That's kind of like going in.
Right.
Um, the thing about Devon is she loves to like be like literally eating the microphone.
You can hear it, but
Um,
it sounds amazing. Yeah.
so, and she's just, I think like anytime I'm like, can you back up? It like gets, like the vocal gets worse. So I'm like, never mind, like eat it. I'll deal with it later.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, that vocal was a bitch because there's so much low mid range in the like raw file. It's like, um, so trying to figure out how to get it to be like bright enough and but not like super spitty, which it is a little spitty, but I kind of think that's part of the charm, which I had to like
Yes.
come to terms with.
Yeah.
Um, it was tough, but through after that, I'd say like in the box, just like normally some EQ, just kind of getting rid of the low stuff, like all the typical stuff. I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of like the CLA 76. I keep trying to stop using it and I can't. Like I keep trying to use like the UAD one because I just feel like it's probably better sounding. Um,
They sound different, and I think the CLA one is like I use it a lot too. I actually went back to it a couple months ago because I was like, yeah, this like does a thing,
yeah.
that you can't quite explain. Just for our listeners and for me too, because I'm very curious. What normal like obviously settings change all the time, but what's kind of like your go-to attack and release and like gain reduction?
Um, Normally like ratio of 4, I would say. And then the attack is normally set to noon and the release is set as fast as possible. And then I'll generally like move the attack depending on where I want the vocal to like sit in the mix and how much I want to separate kind of like the initial snap of it from like the tail of it.
Right.
So if I want it to be like if I have like a really dense mix and I need everything to be kind of like smaller, I'll do like a faster attack. So maybe it's like just like above where it would be like, all the way the fastest it could be. So
Right.
like just the front of the words is kind of coming through. Um I just find it like makes things small and sit in a way that is nice. I don't remember what it was with that one. I've kind of also like changed. I've been changing a lot recently because I've been trying to just like experiment with like different places I could put a vocal in a mix because I also really love a dry upfront vocal, but it
Yeah.
it gets a little like limiting. And certain songs like because the closer you put the vocal to the listener, like the smaller everything else feels.
Right.
So I feel like in like a Noah instance, like he doesn't want to be like just the way the songs are, not him, like his preference, but like I don't find that his voice wants to be like in the front of the mix all the time. Like
Right.
sometimes it wants to be in a giant room of guitars. And maybe my first pass of all of his mixes, the vocal will be like really up front and everyone's like, nah, it's not. And I'm like, oh yeah, because I like made everything else small.
Yeah.
So but anyway, back to deep. Um, Yeah, so the 76, and then beyond that, I use like the C6 a lot to like control like low ends and
Yeah.
maybe like soothe to get those like so much of the vocal for me is figuring out how to get the low mid range to sit right and not getting rid of that like warm round kind of like fundamental,
Right.
but also not making it so big that I can't fit anything else in the
Right.
mix.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's the thing, dude. It's so funny. I think I maybe have mentioned on the podcast before, but I was like scrolling through Instagram and there's this like, I don't know who this fucking guy is, but there's like this guy at like an audio engineering school or something, and he's like, 50 or 60 or something. He's like, yeah, so uh, you shouldn't need a de-esser because the de-esser you just got to back off the microphone, and then you don't need a de-ess. And then I just stupidly commented, I was like, yeah, but so much of the modern pop sound is like a close vocal. Like that's what people want, and it's up to us as engineers and producers to like make it work. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, that's what it is. If you want it to sound like it was recorded in 1980, sure, back off the mic a foot or two.
Yeah.
But like that's not what we're working with here.
Yeah, and there's like so much movement in like a really close vocal, and there's so much movement in how you can like use a de-esser to like
Yeah,
make things more musical. And I think like in general, like that's the cool thing about a closed vocal is like it sounds fucking weird. And like if you get everything to like move right, it's like really exciting because it feels like an electric guitar where like you break the speaker and then it's distorting and you're like, cool, it's crazy, you know? And
yeah,
I feel the same about like a vocal. Like I want it to be like, like I want it to feel like kind of crazy and
yeah,
like,
yeah.
how did they make this?
Right. Right. Yeah. And like that's the thing too about a closed vocal is like it's relatively easy to fix the problems of a closed vocal. Like
Yeah.
fixing proximity effect, like yes, it can be a little bit of a pain in the ass, but like you can fix it. Having a vocal have too much S's, it's like you can either this is for our listeners, not really for John here, you can either clip gain it down or use a de-esser or,
Mhm.
you only there's many different ways you can fix it, but there's not a really great way to make a vocal sound close when you recorded it from a foot or two away. It's just not gonna work.
No.
Um, the other thing I love about it, and I think I know they are, but are the drums in there? The drums on there are, I love them. They feel like a modern version of like the Postal Service, where they're not tinny, but they're like fast and fun. What was the process there? Like, did you have your own samples? You have a drum machine? What are you using there?
Yeah, so those are just splice samples, I think.
Yeah.
I think I was like moving really fast to just try and get like an idea down, and I just went and found like kick drum, snare drum. Probably
Right.
like I don't know, I like a lot of like lo-fi like hip hop sounds because they just have
Yeah.
vibe. So yeah, they were just I think like some lo-fi hip hop kick and snare. I meant to replace them
Yeah.
and then I didn't.
It's
Uh
good because they sound awesome.
Yeah, and then I think the
Yeah.
hi-hats were just like it was like a hi-hat loop that I like threw in a sampler and just like played the pattern so they'd be like different hats, but you know. Um and then there's like a few different like little loops I found and cut up and like just like ran through stuff and yeah,
Yeah.
I was definitely thinking like Postal Service or like I don't know, just that kind of like I mean, I'm just always referencing Radiohead also. Just like
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
That kind of like random, but pattern wise. Once you have all those drums, at least in this song or just in general, do you like to group them in a drum bus and then affect them together, or you just have them go right to the next bus?
Yeah, I definitely group them. I do a lot of parallel processing, especially to get all the like movement of those hi-hats
Yeah.
to like really like groove. Like
What kind of what
definitely
kind
like
of
there's always like some parallel like 76 just like all buttons in, just fucking moving. And then yeah, I think with that one too, like I normally put like Saturn or some sort of like thing to kind of just like shave down the transients to just give myself some room
Mhm.
without hopefully removing so much that they get dull. But yeah, I can't really remember exactly what's on the mix bus of those drums, but it's normally some sort of saturation. Lately I've been EQing, but that one would have been before I started to like really EQ stuff.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, probably that's it. Just to like control them a little bit.
So like you're liking to get compression mostly from parallel compression. You're not really normally putting like a compressor on the drum bus and having it hit. Like for instance, like an SSL compressor or something.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of that. I think it just makes things sound kind of like I don't know, it just does a thing that I don't really like. It also depends on like what the kind of like situation is. I
Of
think
course, yeah.
for a song like that, like I wanted I wanted the kick and snare to sound like their own thing. I didn't want them to sound like they were being impacted by each other. Kind of like a hip hop mix would be like where
Right.
it's like here's the kick, here's the snare, here's everything else. Um And I think when you like with an SSL or something like that, it always feels like it makes everything go like this a little bit.
Hmm.
So I'm always like sometimes I'll do like something just to control it a little bit or make them kind of like move a little differently. But I'm never really like interested in compressing all the drums together to make them like one thing. Unless it is like a live drum kit and like I
Right.
want the drummer to feel like he's in a room with the other people, then I'll do like compression on the drum kit.
Yeah, I used to for years, like, just talking about like sample drums, like would do the compression thing and have a drum bus doing its thing. But now I've actually like I don't do it on a bus, but I so many of the compressors now have mix knobs, and
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite ones is Novatron,
Hmm.
um, by oh my god, what's the company name? Kush, Novatron by Kush. It's a really great one, and I love the UAD distressor because again, mix
Yeah.
knob. That's kind of like what I'm like doing, where it's like doing that stuff. But I have gotten back onto doing it parallel, just because maybe this is why you're doing a parallel on a bus. I'm now controlling what things I want to get compressed a little bit more, as opposed to like everything's getting compressed. It's like no, it's only these couple things, just to like kind of bring it up a little bit.
Yeah, I find too, like with the parallel thing, or just what I'm always looking for out of my compression, it's either like I want the drums to groove more, and I can use compression to do that, or I want the drums, like I want to separate the like some size of the transient from the drums so I can like make them feel closer or smaller or something like that. And I feel like it's so much easier to do in parallel because like I can just send my kick and snare to like a DBX 160 and just smack it, and you're gonna get all that like click at the front of the thing, and I can like put that in the mix, and all of a sudden my drums feel really present, but they're not like taking up a ton of space. And then I can use another parallel compressor to like make the kind of back of them feel like it's big and moving and like doing the like kind of thing, you know?
I
Um,
love that. Yeah.
and I also find with like samples, they're all so compressed already. And if I don't like the sound of a sample, I'm never like, let me alter this. I'm just like, let me just go find the sample I want, you know?
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing too. I think like especially with Splice, they are all so compressed and limited and
Yeah.
clipped already that like when you start doing it again, it's like it's funny. And I was gonna ask for your take on this eventually, but like literally the last like month since like I've been taking time off for paternity leave, I've like kind of been sitting down and going back and being like, what songs do I really love? Not even that I make, but what songs do I really love? And a lot of them happen to be like featured on Mixed with the Masters the past
Mm.
couple.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've been like watching a lot of those, and the one thing I'm learning from them or like noticing is how not stacked their mix buses are.
Yeah. Except for
And
Sean Everett.
yeah, well, whatever, he's doing a thing. But like, it's like the Dan Nigro one, the Jack Antonoff one, the one that they just released yesterday of Billy's song that Costelli mixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're just like, man, because then I go back and listen to the records where I had a stacked mix box. I'm like, everything just sounds kind of like it's not alive. And I don't know. So I literally like last week I like went in and like redid my mix bus and I took a bunch of shit off. I'm just like, you know what? We're starting fresh. We're like getting rid of God Particle. We're getting
Oh,
rid
yeah.
of, all these like enhancers, and we're just gonna like try and do it where I don't know, just like keep the core sounds. But like, what's your kind of philosophy been with mix bus lately?
Oh, I'm a big do it at the source guy. I
Yeah.
on deep, there's probably nothing on the mix bus except for a Pro L, and
And
I
and
probably
d
took
did
that
you
off.
mix did you mix that record too?
I mix that record too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, of course, of course.
I'm too much
Uh,
of a control freak to hand
I mean,
everything to anyone else.
your mixes are incredible, but yeah, talk about that a little bit. Like, what are you what's your approach to like get it to sound like a? I mean, the mix sounds awesome, and not relying on a mix bus to do that.
Uh, I think, well, one, I think so much of mixing is about arrangement. So I'm just a big like figure it out before you even have to start mixing kind of guy.
Yeah,
Like if I feel like the mix is dull, I'm like, I need to record something with some high end, or like I need, when I'm recording my parts, I'm thinking about how they're gonna go fit into the like bigger picture of the mix.
right.
And I think that's something I learned when I was like grinding sessions because I was like, man, I need to get stuff to sound like kind of done really fast. It's like, how do I do that? I'm like, how can I get like a record to sound finished with like 5 elements? It's like, oh, they all really need to occupy different spaces and they need to work together really well. both like rhythmically and sonically. And I think like rhythmically is like a big thing. Like if everything kind of works together rhythmically, you're in so much better shape. And I think of mixes almost like you'd think of like a Bach fugue, where it's like you have these parts moving and they don't really get in each other's way. And they're kind of always like doing this, or like a James Brown record or something where like it's
Yeah.
just a bunch of rhythm and it all locks, you know? So I think like that stuff really helps make mixes sound good. And I think like those guys like on Mix with the Masters, like those productions are like really amazing
Yeah.
and like not perfect, nothing's perfect, but like you know what I mean? Like they're really like those guys don't have to do all that much
No, it's
to
just
like
the parts are so perfect and it
they're
just kind of like lets them speak for itself.
yeah, totally. And so I don't think I'm always trying to do that. I don't know that I quite do that. So then I do end up having to fix a bunch of stuff in the
Yeah, of
mix
course.
because I think, you know. But yeah, I mean that's mixing is the hardest part. It's also my favorite part. I normally ruin everything like 4 times and then I go back to the pre-mix like version everyone's happy with and I take like 5 things that I did in my different ruining sessions and I just do it in that one. And
So
that's it.
funny. Last question about this song, because I'm like genuinely curious. Do you remember what you did for sounds like there's like a really dope sub bass in this record.
Oh yeah, so that's the bass is a mix of my like sub fatty and just like a P bass playing
Love
that
that.
like yeah.
How'd you get them to lock in like that?
It was kind of a bitch. I can't remember exactly, but I definitely remember like wrestling with the phase of them for a while and trying to figure out like how thin should the live bass be? Maybe it has like no low end at all. Maybe it's just kind of like just enough where you can sort of make out the notes and the sub bass is taking up like the whole bottom.
Right.
And I think I kind of ended up somewhere in between. Like I think the live bass had like this mid range that I really liked, like this low mid range that I really liked. So I think I kind of just like carved them EQ wise in a way where they like mostly fit together.
No,
But
it's
I'm actually bothered by that bass sound to this day. I was listening to it before we got on. I'm like, bass just doesn't sound as good as I
oh,
want.
it sounds so good. Get out of here, dude. That whole record
Uh,
sounds incredible. It really does.
Thank you.
All right, I'm taking up too much of your time already, but I want to get on to the next song. And I'm glad we
Yeah.
kind of spoke up. It helps when it's the same artist because we kind of hit on a lot of the same things anyway.
hmm
But yeah, Cherry Cola, another one of my favorites. Truly, I'm so stoked that we're talking about this one. What was that like, and how'd you guys get that one started?
So that one was cool. We did that one with this guy Alex who came in as a co-writer, and he was just like me and Devon had been making up to that point. This was like at the beginning of last year. We had made like 15 really sad, beautiful songs,
Right.
and none of them were probably ever going to get released because they were just like too, you know. And we couldn't really finish any of them. And he came in and it was just like, he was like, you guys should just do something fun. And I think we were just like, all right. And then it was like, he like started playing that like, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And Devin seems excited. And yeah, we like tracked some version of that guitar. And then that was one of those where I kind of just like went around and played a bunch of instruments and just like made that like kind of like, you know, I played the drums and then I played like found like some of those like bass things. And then at some point we kind of realized that it sounded a little like 1901 or something like that. And then it was like, ooh, let's do some like slidey synths. And we kind of built that whole world. And then she just started singing that like, you know, the chorus thing.
Yeah.
And originally I think it was going to be a pre-chorus. And then we were like, nah, that's the chorus. Do it twice. Stack up harmonies.
Yeah.
Happened really fast. Almost all of the sounds on that record, I think I got down in like the first hour of working on it.
Yeah, that's the best, dude, when you're just like starting to make a production. I love days like that where it's like, oh, there's someone else helping you write. I can just like run around and start like, you know, messing with like my Juno and whatever else, my Mellotron, and just put down a shit ton of ideas
Totally.
and then mute stuff later. But I just love
Yeah.
that, like, God, what a high it is to just like, oh, you're on something and I'm just putting down a shit ton of ideas and like every idea seems good.
Literally, I live for that.
Yeah. You know, speaking of some of those ideas that like RP synth that like, you know, goes crazy. Do you remember like what that was and what made you have honestly the courage to keep it in there and be so fucking cool?
That was the most exciting. I think when I found that synth that happens in the chorus, that was when like everything started to get exciting for everyone. And I think
sense.
the cool thing about that synth, and this is so much of like how I like want my sounds to come across in general. It's like it just feels like sugary, it feels sticky and like tactile and like, it's like you have like, the residue of like soda on your face or something like that. Like it's on your fingers. And yeah, I think that was like my profit. And I was just holding down like an ARP and then I was like adjusting the kind of speed of it and then maybe like fucking with the envelope as well. Um, and yeah, I wanted them to feel kind of very like this. So I did like two of them and they're just kind of at different speeds and they're like moving at different speeds.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's might be the coolest part of the production. It's just like something that's so bold, but it's so crazy how it takes up so much space, but it's not in the way. It's I think
That
you know what it
took
is.
work.
This is me. Yeah, but I also think it's like this is me just actively realizing it. I think it's because the melody is like bop 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 bop, but it's one note, and then it gives it room for this other thing to just go,
Totally.
kind
Yeah,
of
it's all the rhythm.
yeah, all the rhythm and all the it's like that orchestral thing you were just talking about. Um, the drums on there, obviously, I'm assuming real.
Live drums.
Yeah, I see your drum kit back there. What are you working with? How do you usually like to record it?
That was before I had just moved into this place when we made that, maybe like 2 months prior. And I had shipped like all of my drums. I had like 2.5 drum kits at my parents' house back in Jersey that they kept being like, when are you gonna take these? And I was like, I'm finally gonna take them. So like I went back for Christmas before, like right after we moved in here and shipped my drums out. That was like one of the second songs I think I recorded. So it's not a great the raw sounds are not great. I've gotten a lot better at recording drums since then,
Yeah.
but I think that was like I just had SM81s for overheads, 57 on the snare, Beta 52 on the kick, and then I think there's like like a 421 kind of like trash mic pointed at the snare drum, and then there's a room mic which is my Upton like over in my vocal booth. I just like turned it
Right.
on and
Just
used
turn it
it.
on. I mean, like you said the raw recording wasn't great, but like that snare sound is one of my favorite snare sounds I've heard in a while. What was kind of like how'd you shape that? Was it like layered with a sample or something? What was that like?
No, I'm yeah, I just the one thing I do remember it's how to do from my like drumming days is how to tune drums. So I just like when I got the drums, I spent like 3 days just like tuning and just trying to remember how to like get good drum sounds. So I feel like same like with everything else, like so much of it is like what is happening at the source, you know. And a lot of the sound of those drums, from what I remember, is the snare drum mic because I just
Yeah.
loved like how gross the 57 sounded. And then on my snare drums, a lot of times it's kind of similar to a vocal. Like I'm just trying to get that like low mid range thing. Like I'm such a
Hmm.
fan of like Al Green drums or like like John Mayer Continuum. They're like boom, like
Yep.
I
That's
want all of
that's
that.
why
Like
I love it. So that's my taste too. Those are the snares that I really gravitate towards.
yeah. So that one was definitely. I was just trying to get them to sound like big and thumpy, but also obviously they're faster, so it's like the sounds like kind of have to be smaller in general. Um, I did I probably did like 200 takes of that drum part, and the part is played like front to back. Like I didn't want to like comp it at all. I wanted it to like really feel like a band kind of thing. So like the first part of it was like, okay, how do I get the drums to sound good? How do I hit them right? And then the other part is like, how do I like, because I haven't played drums in like 10 years. Just like, how do I like play good enough? So it took a while to really like get those to feel the way I wanted them to feel.
Yeah, no, they feel I mean amazing. Just sticking with the drums a little bit. You mentioned that like when you do live drums you like to kind of glue them together. Did you do that for this track?
Yeah, I think this one, well, this actually someone else, Andrew Morey mixed this record
Okay.
because this is like one of the only records in my discog that I didn't mix because we spent a full week doing vocals on this song. So by the time I was done with that, it had to come out and I tried to mix it and I was just like, I just don't have the time to like get the perspective I need. It
Right.
just felt very impossible. And I always loved Andrew's mixes and kind of like I think modeled a lot of like my own mix taste after like some of the stuff that he had done. So I was like, oh, let's just see if this guy will do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he ended up doing to the drums, but what I gave him, I think there was like some SSL and like probably a bunch of Saturn on everything to just like, round out transients. And then like I had treated these drums pretty extensively.
Yeah. When you say Saturn to treat the transients, like what do you mean by that for our listeners? Like what are you doing to like kind of contain them?
Yeah, so really Saturn is just such a good limiter. As is like all tape, really. Like I think for me, the sound of a limiter feels like kind of like dated to some degree. I mean, that's kind of a stupid thing to say, but you know what I mean? Like it has like a specific sound, and it's not the sound that I want. But Saturn does this like really cool thing where like if you just put Saturn on a sound and just turn up the gain on like the warm tape setting, you'll watch like the meter just go down and down and down and down, and the sound gets louder. And it's just beautiful. Like you can put it on literally anything and make anything louder while gaining yourself headroom.
Yeah. Are you like focusing on any bands, or you're just like doing the whole thing? Yeah.
Nah, I don't like the band split thing bothers me. Like I feel like it gets phasey and I'm like too purist or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I hear that sometimes. I like used to do so much more like splitting of bands, and like, and now it's like I start to hear things. I'm like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
I like how that plugin Spectre.
Yeah.
I like how Spectre does it. It doesn't seem to be as like phasey of a thing,
Yeah.
because it's like acting kind of more like an EQ. I use like when I'm doing that kind of like, oh, only want this band to be saturated. I choose Spectre over Saturn now. But
Yeah. I like Spectre. I use Spectre a lot.
yeah, it's great. It's great. And speaking of Spectre, we're gonna move on to our next segment here,
Okay.
which is no, I lied. I'm gonna do that after. Uh, this next segment we're gonna talk about is kind of like Gear Spotlight, and this is one we ask every producer. But like, what's a piece of gear, plugin, instrument, really anything that you have in your studio right now that you could have had it for 10 years, had it for 10 days? What's something that's really inspiring you that you're like, man, I'm so glad I have this right now?
Oh man, I'm constantly acquiring new equipment that's inspiring. I feel like it's for me like every piece of equipment comes with a song. Like Deep came with the Nashville Strung guitar.
Yeah.
Have I used it since? Probably not. No. But that song was like in that guitar. So right now it's this little banjo.
Hey, I just bought a banjo too. That's so funny.
Yeah, it's like 100-year-old tenor banjo.
Wow.
I got it. There's like this super cool little music store in New Jersey called Lark Street Music, and it's he just has like all this old stuff. I get like a lot of my guitars from there. So yeah, hold on, I'm gonna put this back. So that I also got a Princeton reverb recently that's been really inspiring to me. Because before that I had done like all my guitars in the box, like kind of just straight DI. So having an amp has been like so cool, and I got like the 121 and all of that to like mic it. What a world. I like every piece of gear in my room has some like value and is something that I like wouldn't want to live without.
Yeah, I love that, dude. I'm the same way. I'm like so sound inspired, and it's like I'm constantly buying like either VSTs for new sounds, or I'm buying like random pieces of like instruments, and like I love scouring the internet and like offer up Facebook and like Reverb for like $20 to $100 synths, or like little toy synths, just because I'm just like, yeah, they're fun. They don't take up that much space. I like giving myself permission that too, because it's like I'm the same way. So many songs like, oh, I really only use it on this one song, but like that song came out and I love it.
Yeah, and I think there's like this messaging around gear when you're like starting or even in the middle of your journey where it's like you don't need gear to make great music. You don't blah, 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 blah. And like that's true. It's totally true. But like I find for my creative process, and like if my goal is just always to be cultivating my own creativity and kind of like growing it, whatever that means, whether it's like listening only to music I love or watching good movies or like, learning songs I love, like a big part of it is buying things that excite me. Yep. Like it's just so like when I started really to collect gear, I feel like my music got so much better because I'm so tactile. So it's like, yeah, I can like pull up a VST and get cool sounds and move my mouse around, but like I'm only about 20% as excited as if I like buy a new guitar pedal and plug it in. That's so exciting to me. And like I have so many guitar pedals because every time I feel uninspired or I'm just even like feeling depressed, I'm like, I'll go buy a guitar pedal. It's like $200 and it's going to make me so happy.
No, I think it's worth it. And it's like that's again like that's not shitting on people who like can only work on Ableton, and not only work on Ableton, but like and use everything stock Ableton and make incredible things, and like that's what gets them going. It's just I think again it's like kind of what you're saying. It's learning how you as your own person and producer likes to work. It's like you have to lean into that, and it sucks that it's an expensive hobby, or not expensive hobby, but like it's expensive to do that. But to me, it's like this is my job, and I'm a very firm believer that like in order to make money, you need to spend money. And,
Yeah.
that's just what it is. And I've learned that. And it took me a while to, and mostly convincing my wife to allow myself to be like, no, I like buying instruments. I like buying things. And also, if I don't like it anymore, I can sell it. And
That
that's
is
okay.
that's the big one. You can always
Yeah.
resell stuff, especially if you buy
Especially,
vintage stuff, you know?
I try and buy used as often as I can. And it holds its value because like it's staying in the studio. I'm not going on tour. There's times where it's like I have pieces of gear that like gained value from when I
Totally.
bought it. It doesn't always happen, but it does happen enough. So, like I have a couple of rubber bridge guitars that Ruben over at UPSAHL like made, and it's like I don't think I ever will sell them, but like those are worth a lot more than what I paid for them. I'll tell you that much.
Totally. Yeah.
You know. So, we're gonna move on to our next segment here called Plug or Unplug for you or first time listeners. This is the segment where I ask you about a piece of gear, a plugin, uh, instrument, anything, and you tell me plug if it's something you like and really enjoy using, unplug if it's not for you, or bypass, make inactive if you haven't had the opportunity to mess with it.
All right.
Pretty simple. Ooh, excuse me. Curious if you've used this first one, Baby Audio's Crystalline.
I have not, but I see the ads for it all the time, and I'm always like, should I buy this?
You should. It's fun. I mean, it's like I don't know. It's like a very creative. It's not a utility reverb delay. It's like very like creative, which like you probably would fuck with, to be quite honest. It's like a great
Okay.
way to make like textures. It's like what I'm going for when I'm like, all right, let's like put this sound through it and like bounce it down and then see if I can fuck it up, kind of a thing. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Um, Next plugin. Curious if you use this one at all. Overloud's Gem Dopamine.
Have it, use it sometimes, does a thing that I sometimes think is really great and other times scares me because I don't know what's going on.
That's such a good way to describe it. It's like, I don't know, it's for our listeners, it's based off this like dopely like noise reducer or something like that from like the 70s that just like happened to like I think what it's doing, it's like doing some kind of like multi-band compression
Hmm.
is what I believe it's doing. Um, do I really know? No, I have no idea what it's doing.
No
And
idea.
that's fine. Next plugin. The Safari pedals, Rabbit Tape.
I fuck with all Safari pedals.
Yeah. They make great stuff. What's your favorite one from them?
Probably the Rhino distortion, I think.
The Rhino
Uh,
Reverb or the
well,
Gorilla
Rhino.
Drive?
No, maybe it's. I can't remember. It's one of the. All their distortions, I think, are really cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I love all of them.
Yeah.
I must say, I'm not a big user of like if I'm trying to get effects, I normally run things through pedals.
Pedals. Yeah.
Like for like the crystalline one or whatever that's called. Like I'd just like use my microcosm or something
Yeah.
for that. But like the Safari pedals are ones that I do find myself going to a lot.
Because they feel like pedals. They feel a little bit more tactile.
100%. And they're weird. Like I like that they're like I love like Decapitator. Like I should get arrested for how much I use Decapitator, or they should pay me or something. I don't know. But like there's something about the way theirs do things that's just strange, and like I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't have anything that does anything like this, and I like that.
Yeah, no, I mean the Decapitator is a goat plugin for a reason. Like
Yeah.
it definitely is one of the few pedals that like I'm not pedals, one of the few plugins that I've consistently used since I bought it. I can't say that
Yeah.
about almost any other plugin, to be quite honest.
No, me neither.
No, I don't know. It just does the thing. This wasn't on the list, but because I have one and you have one, I'm curious your take on it. The Bay 1073.
Oh, it changed my life.
Yeah. What do you like about it, and how do you like to use it normally?
I use it on vocals mostly. And what I like about it is I feel like when I plugged my mic into it for the first time, it just sounded how I want my vocals to sound. It
Yeah.
just has, especially in the like low, it's like that low mid-range thing. I feel like it
Mhm.
really like puts it in this like place that I can work with. And before that, like I have an API 3124. I've used that on vocals. I have like a Vintech 273. That was my vocal preamp before. I just feel like the Bay is like leaps and bounds beyond
Yeah.
the Vintech.
I mean, I have it too, and it's just one of those things where it's like I have other I've used other pre's, and it's like for my taste, it's what I like. I do eventually want to get a Chandler TG2,
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, for when I just want like something to be like a little bit more hairy or a little bit more vintagey.
Uh huh.
That's like because DJ, our mutual buddy DJ, also known as Daylight, has one. And when I used to work at his studio a lot more, that's what we had. And I was like, something about that I really enjoyed. But like, I think like 90% of the time, I still would use the Bay. I also love what it does to my bass guitar.
Great on bass.
Yeah,
Great
it's
on bass. When I bought the 1073, the Bay, I bought it at the same time as I bought the CL1B and the Upton. I had gotten like a sync and needed some
great.
tax write-offs. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm gonna get like the vocal chain of my dreams. And I really thought that the thing I would least see a difference in would be the 1073. I was
Yeah,
like, there's no way that this preamp is gonna make such a big difference. And it's the one thing of the three that will stay with me forever. The other
yeah,
two I could sell and be like, all right, I could get a distressor, or I could get a 47 or something,
right.
but the Bay is gonna stay.
Yeah, dude, it's like you know, there's a reason why the 1073, like whether it's the Bay or the Neve one that, it's been around for years. It's like mics like that with like a 251 or a 47. It's like there's a reason why they've been around and everyone's trying to clone them because there's just something about them that hits the
Yeah,
human ear in a nice way.
totally.
Um, Next plugin I'm going to ask, we ask on every single plug or unplug. So I'm curious if you've used it or what your response is. CLA vocals.
Uh, I personally don't like CLA vocals because, as is consistent with everything else, I just don't know what it's doing. I'm just like, what are you doing? What's going on in there? It's like, but I think it sounds really good. Anyone who ever asks me like how to get better vocals, I'm just like, you should just buy CLA vocals. It'll
Yeah.
sound great.
It's one that I've been telling people to get recently instead of CLA vocals is the new UAD one. It's like their native one, the top line plugin.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, you should, dude. Honestly, it's I use it a lot for like ad libs because it actually has a ton of like presets that are creative. It's not just like whatever, and it's fun to just kind of like click through and stumble upon
Mm-hmm.
stuff because basically what's inside it, and this is why I think listener, it's good for you if you're just starting out or you're a songwriter or an artist where you just make your own home demos. It has a tuner in it, so you don't need to buy auto tune. It has different compressor types, different tape types, delays and reverbs, and you can like it's not hiding it like what CLA vocal does. You can actually, I think, learn from it a little bit. Where you're like, oh, it's doing this, and this is why I like it. Versus like, I push this button up and it sounds good.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a really, really fantastic plugin for that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's and again, I've been having fun with it on ad libs just to be like, what does this do? I'll see what happens.
Mm.
All right. Next plugin is one that we ask that most people should have used because it's a very popular plugin. This one comes free with the Apollo, I think, whenever you buy it. Don't quote me on that. The UAD LA2A.
Oh, I like the UAD LA2A. I LA2A compression I have a very strange relationship with because I really want to use it and like it. And every now and then I find it works really well on something.
Right.
And I normally use the UAD one. I prefer it over the Waves one by quite a bit. But I just like faster compression in general, which I think is why I'm such a 76 guy. Cause it just, I don't know. I like having the release to me is so much of like what makes things come out of the speaker. But yeah, I like all the UAD LA2A like versions.
You know what you should buy and like just making you spend money?
Mhm.
Have you checked out? I'm a big advocate for them, and I have to say this now, but it's not why. Like I'm actually like one of their artists now. But I've been a fan of their stuff for years. Audioscape.
I literally have had like Audioscape compressors like up on my computer to buy for like days, and then I always just like back out at the last minute.
Do yourself and buy the 76.
Okay.
I think it's gonna again like those are so like you if you don't like it, you can always sell it. You could probably even return it. They're a really great company. If you don't like it, I bet you could return it. But like I have a 76D and I swear by that thing. I am never gonna sell it. It is so fucking good. And like if you're telling me that like you love the CLA like 76, like that's what this does, but better.
Okay, cool.
Like I'm telling you, like I really doubt you'll regret buying it.
All right, you may have just convinced me. I was looking at like vintage blackfaces. I was like recording in Nashville last week, and they were doing everything through a vintage blackface. I was like, man, but they're like so expensive.
Here's my story. and this is what it was. So I was when my studio was flooding for a little bit and like
Yeah.
whatever and all that bullshit. I was working at a Pulsa studio for a little while, and they have vintage black faces. And whenever I was using it, I was like, fuck, kind of like you probably. Like, this is the vocal sound I want. This is what
Yeah.
it is. It's like, and I don't even have to like, I was recording through it, and like whenever I went back in my DAW, I was like doing just nothing but EQ to it and like, whatever. And I was literally saying like you, I was gonna pull the trigger and find one and buy it. And then I worked with my buddy, Lindgren, who's also been on the podcast, and he had the Audioscape one. And I was like, dude, like I'm thinking about buying a vintage one, but like I love Audioscape because I already had a couple of their products. And I was like, what do you think? He's like, dude, I fucking love it. Like this is like my new chain. He has a Upton 251 like you. And or is it an Upton? It doesn't matter. But he was like, you should talk to my buddy Curtis, who's a mixer. He had 2 vintage ones. He sold them and he got 2 of the Audioscape ones. So I spoke to him and I was like, bro, why'd you sell them? He's like, listen, like, are the vintage ones better? Sure. He's like, but these Audioscape ones are like 95, 98% as good. And like, I don't have any of the problems of owning a vintage piece of gear.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Where it's always having to get service every, however often. There's always something, and like this one just works, and like I can contact Audioscape if something's wrong with it. So anyway, that's my advocacy for that. That thing has been like, people come over here and they record on that and they're like, why does my vocal sound so good? I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's because of the 76.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You may have converted me.
Good. I'll send this to Audioscape. Be like, look, I did it.
Yeah. Look, I made it.
But no, I'm telling you, like,
beer.
I really, and like, dude, it's gonna sound great on like your drum kit too, like on your snare or whatever, your trash mic. It's gonna sound sick.
Yeah.
And what I love about it too, this is just me because this is my favorite. This is like what's my favorite piece of gear. It's my 7060. It has I can turn the compression off and just use it as a tone box.
Oh, cool.
Which is really great. And they actually make new ones, which I can't advocate for. The new ones, they added 2 more buttons. They added a sidechain like high pass filter, and they also added a mix knob too.
Oh, nice.
Right. So it's like that. They're a little bit more expensive, but I think it's the same components otherwise. But anyway, Don, my boy, I have taken up far too much of your time, but we've been ending every podcast this season asking our guests to give their younger selves or our younger, or not younger, but like up and coming producer listeners a piece of advice that they wish they heard when they were first starting out. Could be advice that you give now, something that someone told you, whatever.
Man, I think I would tell myself to just just find like the things that feel really good and just like do them and don't really worry about anything else. And just, I mean, there's so much, but yeah, it would just be like all of those like kind of like magical partnerships, like just do those and go as hard as you can on them and make the best music you possibly can. And then look for other magical connections and ignore any amount of trend chasing or, like industry climbing or any of that nonsense. Just really like focus on the feeling of knowing something is really great.
Dude, I love that. That's something that's advice that I give now. Is that same exact thing. Like stop chasing trends, like do what you do, And like like I said, like I really do. You're following your own advice. I truly believe you are trend setting with some of the productions you're doing, dude. So it's been such a blast having you on the podcast. Hopefully our listeners will enjoy this as much as I have. But dude, thank you again so much for being on here.
Dude, thank you.
Take care, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Producer Points. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and share with fellow music enthusiasts. For an encore, check out our Spotify playlist featuring all the songs we've discussed on the show, giving you the perfect soundtrack to your creative journey. Additional audio and video editing for this episode was done by Nathan Rebello. Until next time, this is Justin Gamella.